Sengoku Nadeko, a quiet middle school girl, a mangaka and a snake god. She's up there with an okay Kaiki and Araragi for my favourite character in the entire series, as she is simultaneously one of the most complex but also one of the most simple of all of Monogatari's characters, as she at heart is just a girl who likes to draw, but due to the efforts of oddities, the people around her and a certain high school boy, she's ended up going through a cascade of events that in this video we will thoroughly explore. If you find yourself entertained at any point during the video, then consider liking, subscribing and ringing the bell, as I cannot explain to you how much such a small action could do for this channel. Also, my book Gang Fluid Justice is available on Amazon.com. Anyway, on with the video. Sengoku's introductory arc in Bakemonogatari is often cited as one of the worst arcs in the series, and if you take it on its own in a vacuum, I can kind of understand where people are coming from. I mean, the arc seems to lack the depth of the other Bakemonogatari storylines. Sengoku is way more shallow than the other main girls, and is over-sexualized for apparently no reason. And although yes, all this is true, this is kind of the point. The fact you think the arc is generic, more simple and over-sexualized means the arc does its job, as this arc in the grand scheme of the narrative acts as somewhat of a misdirection. As in Atari Monogatari, the true nature of Sengoku comes to light, and then everything about the introductory arc in Bakemonogatari starts to make a lot more sense. Sengoku is a character defined by the idea of perspective, as she chooses how others see her. To her parents, she is a cute girl, a cute daughter who is nothing more than just cute. To her schoolmates, she is a quiet normal girl. To her teacher, she is a passive person who will do what he asks of her. To Araragi, she is a shy girl who dresses seductively. And none of these are the true Sengoku. However, before we talk about the true Sengoku, let's first discuss why these different perspectives exist. The most prominent of these perspectives, and the one we see first, is what Araki's perspective of Sengoku is. In Bakemonogatari, we are being narrated by Araragi, who is not the most reliable of narrators, and so the Nadeko Snake arc seems a bit basic and a bit lacking, as Sengoku seems to be a bit basic and lacking, as Araragi cannot understand Sengoku in the same way he can with the other main girls in Bakemonogatari, as she is putting on a front. She is not allowing her true self to shine through. She won't let Araragi see her true self, and as a result, when he narrates the events of the arc, she seems rather shallow, as Aragi's understanding of her is shallow. Sengoku is in love with Araragi, everyone knows that, and it is this love for her Kaomi Oni-chan that results in the shallow and basic Sengoku of Bakemonogatari. She becomes reliant on him in Bakemonogatari in order to save her from the snake oddity, and from that point onwards, this doesn't change. A quick thing I want to note is Sengoku's various outfits throughout the series. When she is out and about, she wears a more tomboyish outfit that hides her natural cuteness, as she doesn't want to use her cuteness as an advantage, she doesn't want to be defined by it. But when at home, she dresses cute like a doll, as that is what her parents expect of her, their cute doll-like daughter, and whenever she is around Araragi, she dresses seductively. She doesn't like her girly and cute side. One of the main reasons she is so protective over her bangs is because they allow her to hide her face. This is why she wears more boyish clothes outside, as she wants to hide her cuteness. However, at home she can't do that, as that's what her parents expect of her, to be cute. However, when Araragi is around, she leans into this cuteness even more, to the point of it being sexual, as she is trying to use her cuteness to seduce Araragi. She may dislike her cute nature, or she may say that she does, but when it suits her, when it benefits her, she will lean into it, and so when Araragi comes around, she does, not just in the form of clothes, but also in the form of behaviour as well. In the anime especially, this is masterfully shown in Nisei Monogatari, with a scene that shows just how well handled the fanservice of this series can be. In this scene we are shown over and over seductive images of Sengoku, of her in poses and clothes that are meant to be actively seductive. However, this is then contrasted with Araragi not reacting at all. We're so used to Araragi reacting to the girls of the series that to see him not is strange, it is unnatural. And this feeling of it being unnatural then passes on to Sengoku herself. We feel the scene is unnatural and strange, and the only logical reason for that is due to the focal point of the scene, that being Sengoku's seductiveness. Therefore, with this clever direction, we, the viewer, come to view her seductiveness as strange, as dear lord is this anime great at visual storytelling. The worst part though is that Sengoku is trying to seduce him even though he was already with Senjuhara. Suki even calls her out on this fact, as being in love with Araragi is dragging Sengoku down. She seems so shallow due to him. Her attraction to him and her desire to seduce him is what makes her character shallow, as she is ignoring all the other sides of herself in order to pursue Araragi. She is acting strange and out of character in pursuit of this love that never will be. In the Atari Monogatari, we are being narrated by Sengoku, and in usual Monogatari fashion, she is an unreliable narrator. We, the reader, believe her to have been manipulated by a snake oddity throughout the story, but that isn't true at all. There was no snake, it was just a scrunchie. Sengoku wasn't being told to do stuff by Kuchinawa, she was doing things by her own choice. She subconsciously allowed herself to express her true feelings as a defense mechanism to finding out Aragi had a girlfriend. When her bangs were cut by Suki, she could no longer hide behind her hair, behind her metaphorical shield, and her true self was allowed to shine through. A combination of guilt from the massacre of the snakes, of being the class rep in a class post Kaiki's cons, of being called out by Suki, and of no longer being able to hide behind her bangs brought out a wave of negative emotions in Sengoku. She stopped being several different people, she stopped being perceived by everyone differently. Her teacher and classmates didn't understand, and neither did her parents nor did Aragi, as she wasn't showing any of them her true self. They were all perceiving her in a different way, and so couldn't comprehend her true and real self. However, there was one person who saw through the lies and the layers of perspective, and since Sengoku is defined in a way by lies, then surely it's only fitting that the one person to see through her and meet the true Sengoku for the first time was the king of lies, Kaiki Deshu. As who is the true Sengoku? The true Sengoku is a mangaka. It's almost comical in a way that a girl who became a murderous snake god at heart could just be a kid who wants to draw, but it's the truth. Not a lie, but the true honest truth. Sengoku puts out so many sides to different people, and let people perceive her in all manner of ways. But as a result, no one could ever see the true side to her. No one could perceive the truth in amongst all the lies. Even Kaiki, the master of lies and deception, failed to see through her and was tricked himself. However, thanks to his preparation, he discovered the truth of Sengoku, he found her manga. Sengoku was fine with killing the person she loved over and over without any remorse. However, as soon as someone brought up the logical fact that one day her mangas would be seen by someone, she snapped. She built up barriers and let people perceive her in different ways to hide her true self, the simple and honest reality that she is someone who likes to draw. And Kaiki forces her to realise this, that you should be true to yourself and not be ashamed of yourself, because if not, you may have a violent outrage and may end up becoming a murderous snake deity. Her relationship with Aragi is one pivotal to both their developments as characters. However, I will save how it affects Aragi for a future video on our former vampire but not quite a human, and focus on how the relationship affects just Sengoku. Aragi was a drain on Sengoku's life. She may have said she was fine with it being a one-sided unfulfilled love, but that was but another lie. Nothing but pain came out of her interacting with him. She couldn't express her true love of manga to the world, so she had to express her feelings somewhere else, and onto Aragi they went. All her inner feelings of anger, sadness and love couldn't go anywhere, so instead she funneled all her emotions towards her saviour. She killed him over and over, she loved him more and more as she needed to vent those emotions. In a way, she's like a reverse Senjuhara. She fell in love with Aragi due to being saved by him, but realised that fact by herself. However, Sengoku did not realise that her feelings were due to being saved and comforted by him. She didn't understand her feelings at all, nor did she understand his. And due to Aragi's misunderstanding of the situation, Sengoku ended up eating the talisman and becoming a god. It was his fault as he failed to understand the situation, but it was also her fault for having lied to him to start with, as neither understood the other. Aragi didn't understand Sengoku's feelings one bit, and Sengoku didn't understand her own feelings at all. Now, what is the biggest take-home message of the entire series? There are many answers, but the one I consider to be the most pivotal to the entire series is the idea that you can only save yourself. And this idea, of course, is highly ingrained into Sengoku's storyline. The reason she was so in love with Aragi was in part due to him saving her. However, that's an issue, as you can only save yourself. A running theme of the series is Aragi being unable to save people himself. Instead, he helps them to save themselves. Yeah, he introduces Senjuhara to Oshino, but it's only by her own actions that she regains her weight. Sengoku, though, didn't take any steps after Aragi's intervention to save herself, and as such, she was never saved. This led to Atari Monogatari and her becoming a snake god, as she was never saved. Only when pushed by Kaiki does she save herself. She gives up her godhood and throws away her feeling for Aragi and embraces her own true self and her own passion for manga. The man who led her to being saved was not Aragi, it was Kaiki. The man depicted as the embodiment of all things evil was the one to save her, not the selfless protagonist of the story who spends his time saving people. As that is how much of a drag Aragi is on Sengoku's life. So much so that she is led towards salvation not by him who is actively trying to help her, but by a conman who was only paid to lie to her. She saved herself by cutting off Aragi, as one person can't save everyone. However, I will save that for a future video on Aragi himself. After Koi Monogatari, we don't see too much of Sengoku, as Well, she is recovering from having been a snake god, but even so there is a new heir to her, an heir of happiness of a saved girl. The next section of the video will contain spoilers for the off-season, so if you are anime only, I'd recommend skipping to this time here. After the events of the main storyline in the season's off-season, we get another story narrated by Sengoku in the form of Nadeko Draw in Bakemonogatari, and this story acts as a beautiful culmination of Sengoku's multiple perspectives by personifying each of her different perspectives as Shikigami. Her timid and cowardly side became gentle Nadeko, her over-sexualized side became fawning Nadeko, her angry side unable to contain her inner emotions became anti-Nadeko, and her godly side free of consequence became divine Nadeko. Throughout this storyline, Nadeko must recapture her lost Shikigami one by one, and by doing so, must confront a part of herself. She gains some self-perspective, being embarrassed and ashamed of her Shikigami, but also envious of them. The whole ordeal allows her to see parts of herself that would before remain unseen, and through the story we see Nadeko's true power to bring her inner feelings to life, which is quite poetic really. Throughout the story she suffered because she couldn't express her true feelings and hid her passion for drawing, but in this story she uses her inner feelings and her talent of drawing to help herself. She even ends up getting a job with Guyan-san, and all that wasn't possible without her passion for drawing, or her willingness to express her inner feelings, as Nadeko has developed, and I'd say for the better. In conclusion, Nadeko is a simple character who likes to draw. However, this simple character is hidden behind lies and false perspectives. Only by pulling away from Araragi and embracing her true self does she find happiness, as some things are not meant to be. Sometimes you have to let a love fizzle out in order to rekindle a new one. She loses her love for Aragi, but she gains a new love for manga, and for that reason I love Sengoku. She is such a human feeling character, even if she ends up as a god. And the fact she has to give up on a love for her own sake and happiness is something I personally find both relatable and awfully touching. Comment of the week comes from David_, and thanks a lot man for calling me a member of the genus Capra. If you have any opinions on Sengoku or Monogatari as a whole, then tell me in the comment section down below. And if you have a suggestion for a future video, then again the comment section is fun enough down below. Also don't forget to check out my Twitter at SethTheSyn for channel updates and just general chatter, and my DMs are always open if you want to chat to me directly. Or check out my Instagram at SethTheSyn_cosplay to see my cosplays or random anime merchandise. Also as said before, my book Gang Fluid Justice is available on Amazon.com, so why not check it out. So with all that said and done, I have been SethTheSyn, the Deadly Sin of Geek, and I am signing out. Stay safe everyone.